We figure out that King Nebuchadnezzar has made a golden statue for himself, and he wants people to worship that statue. And if you pick up in Daniel 3 and 6, it says, anyone who refuses to obey will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. Nebuchadnezzar says, this is my statue. I am awesome and great and amazing. You worship me. So the wicked king says to bow to my statue or burn. You say, oh man, that sounds terrible. What a horrible time. I'm glad that things like that can't happen today. I'm not going to get real political, but we're bowing to a lot of stuff today. Bowing to fear, bowing to confusion, bowing to frustration, bowing to what the TV says that we have to do, what the news media says we have to do. Listen, I am social distancing right now. I'm for that. I'm for letting this thing pass. I'm for, doing what's necessary. But I'm not in my house freaking out. I'm not in my house going, locking the doors and closing the blinds and all of that stuff. We are not a people that bow to anything other than God. We don't bow to anything other than God. So the scripture goes on to say in Daniel 3 and 12, it says, But there were some Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whom you have put in charge of the province of Babylon. They pay no attention to you, your majesty. They refuse to serve your gods and do not worship the gold statue you have set up. So we find that these three boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are not bowing to the statue. They're not bowing to the statue. And if you're watching this and you go to Family Life Center, you're probably going to say, Pastor, you preach on this all the time. I love this story. I love this story. I want you to know that if you think times are hard now, if you think times are hard today, there has been many, many, many instances in the past where times have been hard or harder. And we cannot bow to these kind of things today. We cannot bow to this virus. We cannot bow to the fear. We cannot bow to the hoarding of supplies and things like that. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would not bow before the statue. It goes on to say, if you read in 13 through 14, it says, Then Nebuchadnezzar flew into a rage, and he ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. When they were brought in, Nebuchadnezzar said to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or to worship the golden statue I have set up? And then in verse 16 it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. Let me say that one more again. O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. Let me just say this again, because this is so easy to miss. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego they know that they're about to be thrown into this furnace. They know death is coming soon. But they tell the king something so powerful that we need to get today. And if you're watching this, find a pen, find a paper, write this down, put it on a sticky note, put it on the mirror in your bathroom, put it somewhere where you can read this over and over again. They say, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. Now let's process that statement for just a second. When the world presses against us, when the world condemns us, when the world calls us crazy, when the world calls us fanatical, when the world calls us Jesus freaks, and when the enemy comes in and spews his lies and his garbage and the things that he says, we need to throw this back at that. We do not need to defend ourselves before you. That's powerful. That's powerful. You might ask, well, who defends us? Well, I'll get into that in just a second. I want to also give you really quickly Psalms 42. Psalms 42, 3 and 10. It says, day and night I have only tears for food, while my enemies continually taunt me, saying, where is this God of yours? Well, I'm about to shed some tears here now. Day and night I have only tears for food, while my enemies continually taunt me, saying, where is this God of yours? Can I tell you, my friend, that the world is looking at us and they're asking us this very question? Where is this God? Where's he at? What's he doing? Why won't he come and save us? Why is all this stuff going on? Where is this God? 42 and 10 says, their taunts break my bones. They scoff. Where is this God of yours? Where is this God of yours? The world says, where is your God? But if you read a little bit further in the Psalms, and I know I'm giving you a lot of scripture. I do this too much. I give too much scripture probably. If you read on Psalms 44 and 1, it says, O God, we have heard it with our own ears. Our ancestors have told us of all you did in their day, in days long ago. You drove out the pagan nations by your power and gave all the land to our ancestors. You crushed their enemies and set our ancestors free. They did not conquer the land with their swords. It was not their own strength, not their own strong arm that gave them victory. It was your right hand and your strong arm and the blinding light of your face that helped them, for you love them. You are my King and my God. You command victories for Israel. Only by your power can we push back our enemies. Only in your name can we trample our foes. I do not trust in my bow. I do not count in my sword to save me. You are the one who gives us victory over our enemies. You disgrace those who taunt us, O God. We give glory to you all day long and constantly praise your name. Where do we get this idea that we defend ourselves? And two, why do we feel like we have to defend God? That would be like an ant coming into the home right here. Little ant crawling in and saying, hey, Trevor, I got your back. That ant's not going to be able to do nothing. It's not by might nor power that we have, but by God's Spirit. You want to know how we can stand up to all those people that say, where is your God? You want to know how we can push back on those that say, where is your God? When troubles are happening in the earth, when things are going wrong, you want to know where we go to get our strength. It's all from God. It's all from God. We do not defend. I don't have to defend my God. My God defends me. My God defends me. Let's go back to Daniel here. I'm going to try to wrap up pretty quick. Daniel 3 and 18 says, but even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods, lowercase g, or worship the gold statue you have set up. Let me just pause here for just a second. And I know that some people are commenting and liking, and that's wonderful. I appreciate that. If you're not picking up on anything I'm saying tonight, but other than this scripture, Daniel 3 and 18, says something really important. It says, we want to make it clear to you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In these last days, and listen, I've heard my whole life that we're living in the last days. We're living in the last days. I've said this and I'll say it again. We're living in the last moments. I believe all of this stuff that's going on around us today is just the birthing pains to something larger. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't watch, ancient astronaut theorists and all that kind of stuff. But I read my Bible and I pray and I feel something. And I have talked with people that they feel very similar, that God is doing a stirring in his people. God is doing a stirring up in us today. If you just look at these comments, a lot of the people that are watching this video right now, they don't even go to the church where I pastor, because that's not what's important. This whole issue, and those of us who have been in this community, and we have had such strong togetherness and unity of churches and unity of different peoples, that even what this situation is, this virus and this pandemic and this lockdown and this stay home order and stuff, okay, I gotta calm down a second. It might look that we are locked in and locked down. And to the enemy, it might look like he's got us. It might look that we're locked away. It might look like we've been separated. But I feel so strongly connected with God's people even now, through the phone calls, through the live streams, through the people coming over and bringing food and making sure I'm fed and all of that stuff. The enemy has tried to separate us. That's what he does. That's his number one weapon every time, is separation. Because if he can get us separated, he can try to take us down one by one by one. But if we stand in unity together, you notice, I'm sorry, let me take a breath. Let me calm down. You notice that it's not one person in this furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There's 3 of them in there. The dumbest thing the devil ever did was trying to fight a group of God's people. The dumbest thing the devil does is try to fight a group of God's people. And this whole situation going on throughout the globe today is trying to cause separation. But I refuse to be separated. I don't care if I got to do phone calls and talk to people. We will stand in unity. Daniel 3:18 says, we want to make it clear. I want to come to you tonight and just tell you this. We have to make it clear to the world. We need to make it clear to those around us. And we need to make it clear to the enemy. We are not giving up. We are not divided. We are not pushed down. And we're not just going to roll over and die because what he's trying to stir up in the world today. We will be overcomers. We will be conquerors. We will be victorious because the God that we serve does not lose battles. The God that we serve does not lose battles. They say, we want to make it clear to you. My friend, in today's times, God's people need to be clear. We need to be clear on what we say and clear on what we do. Scripture goes on to say, in Daniel 3:19, says, Nebuchadnezzar was so furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face became distorted with rage. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. Then he ordered some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So they tied them up and threw them into the furnace, fully dressed in their pants, turbans, robes, and other garments. And because the king, in his anger, had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames killed the soldiers as they threw the 3 men in. Now this is going to be one of those instances where I open his front door and run 3 or 4 laps around his house. This is what the devil does. Nebuchadnezzar has become so angry at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that he orders the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter. And it's so hot that he says that he orders his best and strongest of his army to throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in there. But the fire is so hot that it burns up those strong soldiers. Can I tell you, everything the devil tries to do, one way or another, sooner or later, somehow, some way, always backfires on him. He always gets burned. It always, the plans get foiled. The plans fail. The plans fall apart. Because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were clear, we will not bow. We will not bow. It goes on, Daniel 3, 23 through 25. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, securely tied up, fell into the roaring flames. But suddenly, you remember how we just read about the woman with the issue of blood that said suddenly, immediately, right then and there, that she was healed? But suddenly, Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, "Did we tie up 3 men and throw them in the furnace?" "Yes, your majesty, we certainly did." They replied, "Look," Nebuchadnezzar shouted, "I see 4 men unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed, and the 4th looks like God." You want to know how come we don't have to freak out? You want to know why we don't have to worry? You want to know why we don't bow to stress? We don't bow to anxiety? Because there's a 4th man in our fire. You want to know how we can walk out in the world in the condition that things are today? Is because there's somebody there with us. Not only is it us as the family of God together. And listen, as a family of God, man, we would fight arm in arm together. It's that bind, that love that we have for another. But not only do we fight one for another, but we have a God who also fights for us. Wow. If you look in Isaiah 43 and 2, it says, "When we go through deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up, and the flames will not consume you." Listen, it doesn't say that there will never be deep waters. It just says, "I will be with you." He doesn't say that you won't have to go through difficult rivers. He says you will not drown. He doesn't say that you will not walk through fire. But what he does say is you will not be burned. It might look like a deep water. It might look like a raging river. And it might look like a hot fire. But it will not take you. Look at me. Whatever you're going through today looks like a mess. Looks like deep water. Looks like raging river. Looks like hot fire. But you're going to make it. The God we serve is there with us. Daniel 3:26 through 27 says, "Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, 'Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here.' So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them, and not a hair on their heads was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell like smoke." What an incredible turn of events. What an incredible turn of events. Daniel 3:28 through 29, "Then Nebuchadnezzar said, 'Praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to rescue his servants who trusted in him. They defied the king's command and were willing to die, rather than serve or worship any god except their God. Therefore I make this decree. If any people, whatever their race or nation or language, speak a word against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they will be torn limb from limb, and their house will be turned into heaps of rubble. There is no other God who can rescue like this." I don't even have to explain what all that means, because that'll preach by itself. Can I tell you that we're being watched? Not just on this video. The church is being watched today. The church is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We're entering into this fire. We're entering into unknowns. That's my message for Sunday, is unknowns. We're entering into unknown times. We don't know when we'll be able to gather back together. We don't know when we'll be able to come together like we want to. But there's another in this fire. Man alive. There's another in this fire. We're being watched. That scripture said that the governors, the officials, the officers, and advisors were all watching this scenario happen. And you know what would have happened if the three of them went in there and just screamed and yelled and cried and went crazy? They didn't do that because they trusted. They knew that they had someone in there with them. I want to close this afternoon. I know I said this would only be like 5 minutes, but that didn't happen. I want to close today by telling you this short phrase here. Every victory started out as a problem. Let me say that again. Every victory started out as a problem. Listen to this. Daniel 3:30. Daniel 3:30. Then the king promoted. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to even higher position in the province of Babylon. I want to tell you this afternoon that problem you're facing right now, that problem can become your promotion. That problem you're facing today can become your promotion. Do you feel like you're in a furnace? That furnace is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to strengthen you. It's meant to harden you. It's meant to build you. It's meant to encourage you. It's meant to make you cling more to that garment. When the doctors couldn't help her anymore, she grabbed a hold of that garment. When the fire was hot, they clung to him. Zechariah 13:9 says, I will bring that group through the fire and make them pure. I will refine them like silver and purify them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. I will say, these are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. Can I tell you this, that he is today, just like the song says, he's still in the fire. He's still in the fire. The fire could be good for you. You say, Pastor, you're crazy. Well, yes, I am, but I'm right about this. The fire can be good for you. The fire burns away impurities, the things that make you weak. Take that home today, wherever you're at, meditate on that. He does not have plans to destroy us, but to build us up, to give us hope. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 men, 3 Hebrew children, 3 Hebrew boys, however you want to put it. They weathered through that. They got through that furnace because they were together. They were in agreement. They were clear on what they said. And they knew that they had another in there. Today, it's a time for the church to be together in unity. We can't all fit here in my living room. We can't all meet together in the church. But we can stand strong together. And together we can be that light. We can be that light. People are watching us. People are watching how we react. We need to cling. Just like that woman said, the woman with the issue of blood made a decision in her mind that she was going to cling to Jesus. My friend, I want to tell you we have to be clear. We need to be clear. And the fire is meant for your promotion. It's meant for your promotion. Thank you for watching this afternoon. I know there's a lot of good information from many good churches all over the place that they're posting videos and all kinds of wonderful things. Listen, we will see each other again. We'll get to the house. We'll be together. We just got to get through this fire. They walked out of that furnace now. They walked out of there stronger. Let me say it again. They walked out of the furnace stronger because there's another in the fire. Bless you. Stay safe. I love y'all. Hope to see you very soon. God bless you.